Great.
Hello.
We're here.
We're here, guys.
Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Katherine Schwarzenegger Pratt, and I'm here with my friend Jenny. And I'm so excited. We did an event together actually recently in Salt Lake City.
Yep.
And it was a Book Sparks event that we did. And Jenny did the most amazing interview.
Thank you.
And I had such a good time. And so we wanted to come back together to do this Premier Collectibles live signing for you guys. And you guys can buy books and get signed copies of the books at premiercollectibles.com/thegift. So if you're interested in that, and I'll be signing along the way, and Jenny will be
feeding you questions.
Yeah, asking me some questions from you guys.
You guys.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for coming and for being here.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
Even with the coronavirus going around, we're still here.
Washing our hands.
I know.
Yeah.
Washing our hands diligently.
Yep.
Making sure all of you guys who are tuning in at home are safe and healthy.
Yeah.
And just taking precautions.
So I feel like the last time I saw you, the book hadn't come out yet, and it was just about to come out.
I know, it came out yesterday, which is crazy.
Yesterday. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So exciting.
Thank you.
Were you nervous?
Yes, so nervous. Well, because I've worked on it for 2.5 years, so to finally have the day come where people can actually get it and read it and, hopefully be inspired to practice forgiveness is a really exciting thing for me.
Yeah.
So, and also exciting for the 22 people who are in this book as well, because their stories and their generosity with time and their journeys was really a special gift for me, and now it's a gift for all of you.
We're so corny. We're like, hello.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess let's start with why you decided to tackle this topic.
Yeah, so forgiveness is not a topic that is often talked about, which is what I realized. And the thing about forgiveness is that none of us is spared from coming face to face with forgiveness at some point in our lives.
Right.
And so I myself was struggling with forgiveness a lot in my 20s. I just turned 30, so I
Welcome.
can say that, I know. So I just was like, I went to go try and find resources and tools and help with my journey with forgiveness. And I found the most helpful things were just really talking to other people about their journeys and their experiences with struggling with forgiveness and dealing with forgiveness, and some people still struggling. And so I wanted to turn that into a book and talk to the 22 people in this book, which they're incredible people. They have amazing stories and they're so inspiring, and each one of them has a different experience with forgiveness in their lives. Some people have practiced it very quickly and easily. Other people have taken, various amounts of time, some 3 months, others 30 years. And some people are still struggling with it. And some people in this book have asked for forgiveness. Other people have granted it. And also self-forgiveness is a big topic that comes up in this book. So it's a good variety and a wide range of different kinds of forgiveness practices.
Yeah, different people, different stories, all walks of life.
Yes, that was important to me, is to have men and women and people from all backgrounds, all walks of life, people with faith being a part of their lives, people with faith not being a part of their lives. So it was a important collection of, a variety of different stories and experiences to have in this book.
Right. Oh, she's going to start signing your copies right now.
Yeah.
So, again, make sure premiercollectibles.com/thegift to get your signed copy.
Yes, that pen is dead.
Oh, is that one more?
This one will get
Okay,
this.
good.
Okay. Awesome.
All right, so we have some questions here from the people who are watching. I'm going to start with Diane. Diane asks, do you think it's harder to forgive others or harder to forgive yourself?
So that's a big topic that came up in the book, actually, when talking to people. And every single person in the book not every single person, a lot of the people in the book had stories of forgiving someone who had done something to them, but also the forgiveness of yourself being a huge part of that journey and that experience. So I think oftentimes people find that forgiveness of self is oftentimes more challenging.
Yeah.
And it's it can be like a deeper experience and journey to actually go through that. Mm-hmm. And then forgiving another person for something, the biggest thing that I've learned in this book is that forgiveness is not about another person at all. It's really about yourself, and it's a gift at the end of the day that you give to yourself. So for me, when I was able to shift that mindset, it was really empowering for me and allowed me to practice forgiveness and understand the role of forgiveness in my life in a totally different way. And so I think there's a good collection of forgiveness of self, but also forgiveness of another person. And then at the end of the day, forgiveness being a gift that you do give to yourself.
Right. I think that's something that I'm constantly learning, especially as I get older.
I know, it's always as we get older.
As we get older.
As we get older, it becomes more of a thing.
Right. All right. Okay. You have 1 hour on a park bench with anyone alive or dead. Who do you choose and
Oh
why?
my gosh. Such a loaded question.
I know.
It's a great question. I would probably say an hour on a park bench. Probably as I get older, there are certain things that I wish that I had talked to my grandma and my grandpa about before they had passed away. So I probably would try to talk to them and spend an hour on a park bench with them.
That's lovely.
And just because there are so many things I think as we get older that we talk to our parents about, and it would be really interesting to also get grandparents' experiences and takes on them.
Right.
And also as you go through like different life events, you just want to be able to have that additional sounding board.
Yeah.
So probably
Get that perspective.
yeah.
Right.
And they have a different perspective because it's a different time that they, have grown up in.
Right. I always look at my parents now and think, you had it so much harder than I did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know. I know they didn't have cell phones.
Right.
Nothing. They always had forgiveness.
All right. Teresa from Pasadena, Maryland. Pasadena, Maryland.
I know.
I know Pasadena, California.
Yeah.
I lived in Maryland for a while. I never heard of Pasadena, Maryland, but thank you, Teresa, for tuning in. She asks, what is the most difficult situation in which you forgave someone?
Well, there were several that I was struggling with in my 20s. The one that I talk about in this book was definitely a falling out that I had with one of my closest friends, which was really challenging for me because while it might sound trivial, especially to the amazing 22 people's stories that are in this book, it's something that along this book tour I'm realizing happens to so many women especially. We have these friendships that I like to call history friendships, where you become friends when you're very young, and then you kind of paint this whole picture for your friendship, which is, we're going to go to college together and we're going to live together and we're going to get married and you're going to be in my wedding and then we're going to have babies together and live on the same block and our husbands are going to be best friends. And so that kind of absence of that for me with this particular friendship was really devastating to me and really challenging, and my forgiveness journey with that definitely took a lot of time. And I have one of the stories that's in the book is by Cora Jakes Coleman. I interviewed her and she talks about a huge falling out that she had with her best friend, and it's really interesting to see, especially as I'm meeting a lot of different people, how many people are resonating with that story and with that experience, because it wasn't something that I necessarily thought of a lot of people having.
Right.
And it is really a great bonding thing for everybody to be able to learn from each other's experiences.
Yeah.
And then the other stories in this book are, insanely inspiring for a variety of different reasons, and, practice forgiveness and struggle with forgiveness in different ways. And I would say that the one that Cora Jakes Coleman talks about is one that I think a lot of people will be able to see their own journey in.
Absolutely. I definitely think you're right about having that sort of history friendship.
Yeah.
I had a really close friend in high school who I kind of had a falling out with, but over time we've been able to just appreciate our history for what it is.
Totally. And me too with my friend. I think it's amazing to be able to get to a place where because a big question that comes up a lot in whether it's Facebook Lives that we've done or just book signings that we're doing is if something happens in a friendship or a relationship, a family relationship, or, and you decide to forgive the person and have them in your life still, does that mean that the friendship goes back or the relationship goes back to how it was before a specific incident happened? And I think that's really hard to go back to the way things were before.
Yeah.
But I think it's encouraging to know that you can kind of re-establish boundaries and what the relationship and the friendship will mean to you, and being open to it being different, but doesn't mean that it has to be any worse or better than it was before, but it will just be different.
Right.
So I think where people get stuck or in trouble is when they try to force it to go back to the way it was. Before.
This one makes me laugh. How do you forgive your partner who forgot your birthday?
Wow. That is I would say, like, how long have you guys been together? First of all, because if this is like, we're talking about a week, then I feel like that's probably more acceptable.
What about 5 years?
Probably not. That would be, listen, it's a forgivable thing. I would, if you choose to forgive. If you want to forgive them, that's totally up to you. If you don't, that's also totally up to you. I would just maybe have a sit-down conversation about maybe a joint calendar. That could help.
Oh, yeah, that could help.
Yeah. So, like, you can have a joint calendar. You each have the calendar app, and then you put your birthday in the calendar. So there's really no excuse for forgetting a birthday, and then you kind of gently remind them.
That's why Facebook is great, because it'll remind you of everyone's birthdays.
I get reminders for people's birthdays that I have not talked to in 15 years.
College, high school. Yes, exactly.
And I'm like, oh, today's their birthday, so maybe have a Facebook account.
Just for that reason. That's
just so your relationship survives.
To Facebook Lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's see.
That's a really funny question.
Right? Ooh. Brittany from Ware, Massachusetts. Ware, that's W-A-R-E, not Where.
Yeah. Cool.
Asks, what inspired you to start writing?
That's a great question. I was actually asked recently if I thought that if someone had asked me when I was younger if I would be doing this, whether or not I would be surprised. And I would be and I wouldn't be. I would be because when I grew up, I was always looking at what my parents were doing, and my mom has written her handful of books, as has my father. And I was always like, I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to do something totally different, and I'm not going to do anything that they're doing. And then, of course, when I wrote my first book, I think it's 10 years ago, I was like, well, this is something I feel really passionate about and I really want to do. And so I decided to do it, and I'm really happy that I did. But I always, when I was in high school, my mom had us 4 kids start journaling when we were younger. So whenever we would go on a family trip or a family vacation, she would always make sure that we put in an hour of our day to write about what we had done that day or the day before. So I have now all of these amazing journals of family vacations, different trips, community service trips, and just experiences that I probably would have certain memories of now, but not as detailed memories. Yeah. And I found, especially when I was in high school, being able to write and have that as an outlet was really therapeutic and helpful for me. Right. And so I really think that, like, when I look at, this is my 4th book, and when I look at my books, I really look at them as like journals of my experiences, because each one has been a really therapeutic and healing process for me, and one that I have learned so much about myself in the process of writing. And with this book on forgiveness, it was really such an emotional experience for me, because I learned so much about what forgiveness meant to me in my life, and also, you know, my forgiveness muscle, as I say, was definitely tested throughout writing this book. So it was a really interesting time for me to actually go back and think that, you know, when I started writing this book, I thought I had a really good handle on forgiveness, and I was quickly reminded that I actually had more work to do with my forgiveness journey, and I'm sure that will continue over time. But it was something that was an interesting experience to have to go through while writing this book, and to be able to, because I talked to 22 people whose stories are truly incredible and so inspiring. So to have that be a part of it was really healing for me.
Were you consistent throughout your childhood? writing these journal entries?
Yeah, I mean, like I have some from second grade that are not like that thorough.
Yeah.
That are more like, so-and-so was mean to me in school today. Or this is my favorite dog, you know, those kinds of things. But yeah, I was pretty consistent all through high school and middle school, which is really cool, especially throughout the summer, because that was like a big part of summer, was spending time with our family and just being together. And so my mom always made sure that that was a big part of, you know, our summer and, you know, a tradition and thing that we should be doing every single day. So
that's
very grateful now.
Yeah, you have a whole journal to look back on.
I know.
Your entire life.
I know.
Do you ever do that? Do you ever sit and curl up and read your old journal entries?
I do sometimes for like humor purposes, because you know, when you're in high school, everything is so dramatic.
So dramatic.
So I like being able to go back and read certain moments in my high school experience, to just go back and be like, that was so wild or so crazy. And then I also go back and see how I was really feeling on certain things. And I'm like, oh, I forgot that I was, you know, really upset or really hurt by that, or I was really excited by this. So it's a cool thing to be able to have. And, you know, especially in this book, speaking of journaling, this book, at the very end of my book, I have in here a section called Now It's Your Turn. And we have some blank pages in here. And the reason that I put that in there, my sister actually, Christina, she suggested it, but there's an explanation in the book as to why it's in here. But I'll tell you why it's in there. And that is because with forgiveness, again, it's such a complicated topic and one that we don't really talk that much about.
Yeah.
And when I would talk to other people about me writing this book and just diving deeper into the topic of forgiveness, people would often pause and start immediately going in their head back to high school or elementary school or into something that they're experiencing currently, or you know, something that had happened a couple years ago or even recently that had really hurt them, and that they actually wanted to go back and figure out how to navigate in a better way. And so for me, it was reading these books and hearing people's stories, oftentimes for me especially, will get me thinking about a person or a situation that I might want to go back to, or that still really hurts me.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to have this workbook in the back where people could write down, you can write down people's names that you might need to, you know, further work on and practice forgiveness. There's another full blank page there. You can write someone a letter and keep it for yourself. You can write someone a letter and then give them the book as part of your forgiveness journey. And if you do that, please make sure you let me know, because I would love to know how it goes. But it's a great place to just have a place where you can kind of jot down notes and thoughts and ideas, feelings, because these stories will really get you thinking, and they're really deep and really inspiring. But they'll definitely get your brain ticking and thinking of people that maybe you're not thinking of right now that you need to forgive, but these will get you realizing, you know, maybe you have some unresolved feelings towards...
We all do, don't we?
We do. I mean, it was interesting because I was talking to a woman, I think it was last week, and she was saying that she heard about the book and that she was talking to me about the book, and then she started thinking of a girl who bullied her when she was 15 and how hurt she still is by that girl, and that she's now in her 50s and she didn't realize that she was still carrying that around and still so hurt by this girl from so long ago. And so I thought it was interesting, because it's not like we necessarily are even aware every single day of these hurts from our past, but it's really interesting to be able to have these kinds of conversations. And one of my goals with this book is to spark conversation between people and in homes and families, relationships, about forgiveness, because we don't talk about it that much, but it's something that is really important in the journey of life and the cycle of life. And some people get there, other people don't, and that's okay. It's just being able to be open to talking about it and discussing it that I think is a great gift.
Yeah. I feel like you're doing for forgiveness what Brene Brown did for vulnerability and shame.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Right?
What a
Let's talk about this.
Let's do it. Wow.
All right, let's go back to some reader question. Not reader, oh my goodness. Live.
Viewer.
Let's see. Rachel from San Antonio, Texas asks, plain and simple, forgive or forget?
Okay, so that's a great question, and one that also came up a lot in my journey of writing this book. So we hear about the phrase forgive and forget a lot, and or forgive and don't forget. So I think that for me personally, I'm somebody that definitely goes by forgive and don't forget. And it was a topic that I was interested in because I always thought that maybe if you forgive and you don't forget, does that really mean that you were able to forgive, or are you still carrying around resentment? And the big place that I'm able to make a strong separation is if you're forgiving and not forgetting. For me personally, I mean that I can forgive someone, but I can also choose to not sit down and have them back at my dinner table. And if I do choose to have them back at my dinner table, I can do that by having new boundaries and creating a new form of a friendship or a relationship where I feel safe and protected and my heart feels protected and I can still enjoy the person, have a great friendship with them, but also not set myself up for the same thing happening again.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important because if, for so many people, having forgiveness journeys within families, within people that you can't just never see again, in marriages, relationships, whatever that looks like, you can forgive someone and you don't have to erase what happened to you, and you can still maybe keep that in the back of your mind, not live your life always keeping it as being, the forefront of everything that you do, because that I think can create resentment or maybe bitterness or just like negativity. But I just think that, you can learn from your experiences, you learn from pain, you can learn from your hurt, and you can still forgive, but you don't necessarily have to just erase what they've done to you.
Right.
And it's interesting because another big part of that is that a lot of people are struggling with forgiveness because they view it as being a betrayal of their own hurt. Like if I forgive someone for what they've done to me, then it's almost making what they did okay or acceptable, or telling them that, what they've done is okay, so I'm going to go ahead and forgive them. And some people look at forgiveness as a weakness and not a strength. And what does that mean to them? And so when I, think of forgiveness, I oftentimes, especially with people who are still going to be in my life or still just like present people around me or my family, I try to think about, being able to forgive them as it being a gift to myself, so I don't have to carry around that anger or that sadness or hurt every single day, but also being able to not necessarily erase what has happened, because the reality is that you don't need to erase what's happened to you, because those scars will always be with you, but it's about not dragging around that anger and resentment and hostility or whatever the feeling is that you have to kind of make sure you put on your back every single day.
Right.
So, it's an interesting thing, because I think a lot of people are scared to forgive because they don't want to erase their pain.
What happened, yeah.
So you don't need to erase your pain. You can still have that as being a part of your story and of your life and who you are, but it just doesn't have to dictate your entire life moving forward.
Right. Guys, if you're tuning in now, Katherine is signing copies of her new book, The Gift of Forgiveness, and she's also answering your questions. So if you have any burning questions for Katherine, send them in right now. All right, let's see. Ooh, this is a good one. I wish they had a name attached to it, but if you're watching, what is something you've let go that once meant the world to you?
That once meant the world to me?
Yeah, something that you've let go of that once meant so much to you.
Well, funny you should ask, because recently Lent has come up in the Catholic Church, and which is all about giving something up or letting something go. And every year I usually would give up like coffee, or I'll give up candy for the 40 days and 40 nights, or something that's hard that I really love and that I'll miss. But I would always go to, growing up, we would always go to like a food thing or a, coffee or a latte or something like crazy. But this year I decided to give up control and holding on to things that don't serve me and make me a better person and make my day better. Yeah. And that's a very hard thing to do. But I feel like I'm always being watched by my grandma, who's very Catholic, and watching me from heaven. So I'm always like, okay, I'll let it go. I'll try and let it go. But I think probably like my friendship with my friend that I had a falling out with, that was something that I carried around for several years. And something that for me was very hard to let go of. And when I was able to finally let go, we were able to just have interactions with one another that were not anxiety causing or weren't negative, and they were really positive because we just had this kind of release of what had happened in the past, and it allowed for us to have a new and different kind of friendship in our present and in our future. So I think that for me was probably something that releasing really helped in my day-to-day life.
Right. So what does that look like for you every single day when you're like, okay, let go of control? Like,
because I try to remind myself every day. It doesn't mean I'm perfect at it at all because we've just started. But I think, it was one of my New Year's resolutions to be more present and to practice meditation almost every day. And I've done kind of a good job at it, but I just see people who are able to have meditation being a big part of their day, and they're so much more present and also prepared for really whatever comes their way every day. And I rhymed. But for me, being able to not try to worry about things or control every little thing, especially while on a book tour and traveling, is very hard for me to do.
So much is out of your hands,
I know.
Too, right? A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, and I'm the oldest in my family, so I feel like, as the oldest, you oftentimes are kind of trying to control what your younger siblings are doing, especially when you're little. And so for me, it's a very it's a challenging thing to do, and to not get flustered or worried by if an event is canceled because of coronavirus, not having a heart attack about it, or if plans are changing, or if something doesn't go the way that it was supposed to go, that I'm just kind of taking a deep breath, allowing things to just
roll off your back.
Yeah, which again, it's all about practice, and we're practicing.
Right.
So, not an expert at it by any means, but.
Is there any type of meditation that you like to do in particular?
I really like Headspace.
Me too. Andy, the guy who narrates.
Such a soothing voice.
That voice is so great.
Yeah, very, very good.
Do you think I can get him to record my voicemail? Hi.
Just let people fall asleep.
Right.
When they call you, because it's so soothing. Another thing, just since I just mentioned the word expert, I also like to tell people that just because I wrote this book on forgiveness does not make me an expert on forgiveness. I think a lot of people who write books on certain topics maybe consider themselves to be experts in the category because they've spent a lot of time researching it, and it's a topic that they know, through and through. And, while I have spent the past 2.5 years writing this book and talking to 22 amazing people, and also so many other people who are not in this book, I'm not an expert on forgiveness. I have been blessed enough to be able to practice forgiveness in my life, but I also know that, I'm 30 years old, and moving forward, I will have moments where I do struggle with forgiveness, and I will be able to go back to the stories in this book, and also the people who I've been able to talk to along the way of this book tour and this journey, to be able to inspire me to pull through in my forgiveness journey. So I always like to tell people that I'm a student of forgiveness, and that I'm a fellow struggler with forgiveness. So I am not sitting here in front of you or giving this book to you as an expert in the category of forgiveness. I am simply just somebody who was lucky enough to talk to the 22 people in this book and put it into a book for you guys to be able to read and be inspired by.
Right. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about it, is that each story is kind of self-contained, so you can pick it up, read a story, go to bed.
Well, that's a big part of it
Yeah.
for me also, was because it's like the stories in this book are very intense and very raw and vulnerable and so beautiful and so inspiring. And you also, people have been coming up to me and saying, you know, like, we haven't been able to put it down. It's such a page turner. And I'm like, that's amazing. And I love that so much. It means so much to me because I've worked very hard on this book. But also, if you want to do what I did in the whole writing process of taking 2.5 years to get this book done, this book is written in a way, and it was important to me to write it in this way, where you could pick up the book, read a section or two, put it down, and really let that information in that person's stories and lessons sink in.
Yeah.
And see what it brings up in your life, what maybe people come up in your mind, or feelings, or just, you know, takeaways might come up for you. So it was important to me to also let people know that this isn't a book that you have to read cover to cover. If you want to, that's amazing too. But if you also just want to have it out and, you know, read a story a day or a story a week, that's also a great way to welcome forgiveness into your life and also be inspired by the people's stories in this book.
I also like that at the end of each story, you kind of give like your own takeaway from it, which I thought was really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, that was important to me because every single person that I talked to, I was just left with so many feelings and emotions because these stories are just, you know, they're wild.
Right.
They're crazy. And for those of you who might not know the names in this book, I can just read the list of them just in case some of the people's names you will recognize and some you might not, but they're really incredible. So in this book, I interviewed Elizabeth Smart, Chris Williams, Sarah Klein, Polly Shepard, Christy Little-Jones, Immaculée Ilibagiza, Ron Hall, Deborah Kopakin, Nadia Boltz-Weber, Lewis Howes, Scarlett Lewis, Devon Franklin, Mark Rossi, Michelle Leclerc, Sue Klebold, Talinda Bennington, Mark Kelly, Iskra Lawrence, Tanya Brown, Adele Altamimi, Cora Jakes Coleman, and Sebastian Marroquin. So I have these people's incredible stories in this book, and they were so generous with their time and their stories and emotions to let me talk to them. And then at the end of everyone's section, I have a little brief kind of review or overview at the end that's sometimes this long, sometimes a little bit longer, of just my personal takeaways from the people's stories. And also there's an introduction and a conclusion that are more about me and my experiences with forgiveness. But it was important to me to have that, but also to let everyone's story stand alone because they're so powerful and so amazing that I did not need to put my thoughts into them because they're so great on their own.
So we have time to take one more question from a viewer. Oh, so I feel the pressure, you know, because they're all so good.
Take your time just thinking of the best one humanly possible.
Oh my gosh, no pressure. What? Okay.
So if you're also watching, you can order, if you want a signed copy of these books. I'm signing all of these books to be sent out to you guys as viewers. So if you want signed copies of the book, make sure you go to premiercollectibles.com/thegift. All of these books are being signed, and we have many more that we've signed already and that will be sent out to anyone who wants one. So
me.
You want one? I'll sign one. So make sure that you go to that site. It's premiercollectibles.com/thegift. And we'll make sure you guys get a signed copy of the book and that you'll be able to enjoy it. And also another thing that I'm very proud of that I have to show you is it was really important to me to have this book look really pretty. The cover is amazing, and I worked very hard on it with the amazing team at my publishing house. So I love this cover, and it has amazing quotes on the back, which I'm very grateful for. But also, I know there are a lot of people who don't like covers on their books and want to put these up as decorative things. So this was a very important part for me of the book designing process, was what it would look like without the cover on, and I'm very excited about it. It has gold lettering here on the spine of the book.
And this KSP.
Yeah, my initial right here and a little flourish. And it's a really beautiful and soft and very calming and serene color green. And it's just very pretty, and I'm very excited about it. So my mom likes to take covers off books sometimes and put them on bookshelves to make them look, sleeker, which I totally understand. So this was I just wanted to show you guys this part of it because it hasn't really been shown. And it's something I'm
first time here.
It's the first time for this, so I'm very excited about it. I love the cover as well, but if you are a cover-free kind of person.
Yep. This is my favorite color, by the way.
Thank you.
My favorite color in life, seafoam green, calming green.
Well, it's funny because when we were in the process of doing the cover of this book, I had always, for some reason, envisioned it being a little gift on the front. And it was always about what color I would do the rest of it. And I was looking at solid colors, but I always just wanted it to be something that was gender neutral, that everyone could take with them and not feel like the book was too girly or too masculine or too, that it wasn't too specific for anyone. So I wanted to, have a color that when people looked at, they felt calm and soothed, because forgiveness is a very heavy topic. It's a very emotional one. So anything to calm you in the process of that is important to me to be a part of. And the kind of watercolor version of that reminded me of kind of calming water.
Yes,
and
I hear it now.
Very soothing. I know, very soothing thing for me. And I also found out actually after I decided on this that the color green is the color of forgiveness.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, which is why I use green little hearts in all of my captions on Instagram, is because green is the color of forgiveness. I don't know who decided that, but
who decides these things?
Thank you so much for doing that, because I ended up researching it after and I was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect.
And you didn't know?
No. I just really I thought this color was just very calming. I was going back and forth through this one and a blue version of this. And this one was what I settled on. But yeah, so green is the color of forgiveness.
Green is the color of forgiveness.
Yes.
Okay, so the last question we're going to ask is, what was the most surprising thing you learned about writing this book?
Most surprising thing I learned about writing this book and through my process writing this book is really, I would say, that forgiveness is a gift that you give yourself. It has nothing to do with another person. It's a great, sprinkle on a cake if someone can come to you and be remorseful or apologetic for something that they've done to hurt you. But for so many of us, that's not the case, and it's not something that is necessarily worth waiting around for. So for me, being able to hear from the people in this book how much forgiveness is a gift that you give to yourself was so powerful for me and really changed the way that I viewed forgiveness and also the role that it played in my life. I watched a video by one of the women that I interviewed in this book named Nadia Boltz-Weber. I'm a huge fan of hers. I'm a huge fan of everybody in this book, but she does these videos, and my mom actually sent me a video that she had done a couple years ago that was about forgiveness. And she talked about forgiveness in a way that really had such an impact on me and changed the way that I thought of forgiveness. And it was really her calling people who are able to practice forgiveness as freedom fighters and forgiveness warriors. And she talked about it being something that, as I mentioned before, so many of us view forgiveness as something that's weak or that's, folding or, whatever it is that however you view forgiveness. But she talks about it as you really deciding to take your power back and taking your life into your hands and taking control of a situation and saying to yourself that what someone else did to you is so not okay that you want to be able to live your life moving forward free from the pain that they've caused you. And she said that, we walk around every single day with chains that are attached to the pains of our past. And to take bolt cutters and to cut them off of us and to free ourselves from this pain from our past and from these, terrible things that have happened to us, not to erase them by any means, but to just say that you don't want them to be dragging on your feet every single day of your life moving forward, and that you want to take your power back and take control of your life moving forward. So to me, that kind of visual of taking these bolt cutters, and because I think so many, liberating yourself. So many of us are walking around every single day with, pain that people have caused, and, it's not fair, and people aren't remorseful for what they've done, or they don't think they've done anything wrong. And that makes it so much more painful for so many of us. And to be able to say that, okay, this person's not going to necessarily ever be remorseful for what they've done, or feel sorry, or even say they're sorry, or ask for forgiveness, but you want to be able to live your life moving forward free from whatever damage they've done or whatever pain they've caused you, and you want to cut yourself free from that was such a beautiful way of thinking of forgiveness and the decision to forgive. So I love her, and she's an amazing person and just really inspiring. So I thought that was probably my biggest takeaway, was that, you don't have to sit around and wait for someone to ask for forgiveness.
It's in your hands.
It's in your hands.
Yes.
Take your power back.
Okay, so to end, we're going to do something called 22 questions in 2 minutes. Rapid fire.
Okay, I'm going to just...
So don't think too hard about these things. Just the first answer that comes to mind. Okay. You ready?
I'm ready. And also, before we do that, if you want a signed copy of your book, make sure you go to premiercollectibles.com/thegift. We're signing all of these for you guys at home who want signed copies of this book, and we'll get them sent out to you. So make sure you go to premiercollectibles.com/thegift to get your signed copy.
To get your gift.
Yeah, to get your
forgiveness.
gift of forgiveness. Or to send it to somebody else.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah. It's a nice act. Like, you might need forgiveness in your life, but I don't want to tell you, but here's a
subtle,
book on it.
Subtle.
Subtle. If you do that, please tell me. I want to hear about that as well. So great.
Okay. Who would you like to have dinner with, past or present?
My grandparents.
Okay. I had a feeling you were going to say that. Which one? Game of Thrones or Stranger Things?
Stranger Things.
What is your favorite breakfast food?
Cereal.
Ooh, which one?
Honey Bunches of Oats.
Oh, that's a good one. What is your favorite genre of music?
Who? Beyonce.
Oh, yes. Who was your idol growing up?
My mom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What is your favorite international cuisine?
Mexican food.
Okay.
California makes the best Mexican food.
They really do. Taco trucks. I mean, hello.
Yeah. It's everywhere. Guacamole. I'll pay extra.
Oh, I'm getting hungry. Okay. What is your favorite candy bar?
My favorite candy is Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Do you have a favorite season?
Fall and winter.
What is your favorite childhood memory?
Lately, I've been reminded of Mr. Rogers a lot, and I used to watch Mr. Rogers all the time. So I feel like my mornings watching that were really special, and I love the movie so much, and I just love Mr. Rogers. So
with those cardigans,
yeah.
Did you ever have an imaginary friend?
I had 3 younger siblings. There's no time for imaginary friends with them. They're always around. You have to just kind of make them your friends, whether they're imaginary or not.
Right. Do you have a favorite animal?
Yeah, my dog Maverick.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Your go-to workout?
My go-to workout, Pilates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Reformer?
I go on walks a lot. Yeah, reformer.
That's hard.
The mat thing is, I don't get as good of a sweat.
Yeah, reformer's hard.
Yeah, it is.
What do you never leave home without?
My wallet and my cell phone.
Good. Do you have a favorite superhero?
Yes.
Batman. Okay.
No.
What is your favorite time of day?
Morning. I'm an early riser, so I love the mornings. I'm the most productive in the morning. I go to bed at like a time of a grandma, so I like to be up early. Yeah. Early bird catches the worm. My dad always used to wake me up early in the morning when I was younger, so I never grown the sleeping in gene.
Ever?
No.
Wow.
Can't do it.
Have you ever ridden in a hot air balloon?
No, and I never will.
Oh.
I don't want to
at
all.
Okay. What is your favorite board game?
My gosh, what have I recently been playing? I've been playing Chick-a-Pig, which is a really great game. I played with my stepson recently, and also Sorry and Candyland and all.
Classics.
Uno is one of my favorite games, though. My family gets very aggressive with Uno. My brother Patrick always thinks that he can win every single game, which he kind of does, but it's fine.
Favorite pizza topping?
Just plain cheese.
Favorite teacher?
Probably my kindergarten teacher, Miss Barry.
Okay, Miss Barry, thank you. Do you like movie popcorn with or without butter?
I don't like movie popcorn. I know.
Wait,
I
what?
only like kettle corn from the farmer's market or from a
Okay.
fair or something. I like that. That's my thing. My mom and my husband love movie popcorn so much.
I could eat every day.
I can't handle it. No, absolutely not.
Okay, kettle corn only.
Kettle corn only.
Who's your favorite author?
It's a tie, my parents.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, last one. Who has impacted you the most
In my life?
in your life?
Then I'd probably say my parents, because they have been such amazing parents and such a huge presence in my life and have helped me so much and just guided me so much and been so supportive. And I hope to be able to be as good of parents as they are and have been to the four of us kids. So they probably impacted me the most.
Amazing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you
guys.
Thank you all for tuning in. I'm so excited to get you guys these books. Thank you, Jenny, so much for being here and for braving New York City in the coronavirus
it's crazy
times.
out here right now.
I know, it is a little bit wild. So we're so grateful. I'm so grateful to all of you.
Yeah.
Order books if you want signed books. And thank you again for tuning in. New book.
Take care of yourselves.
Bye.